YouTube is so exciting to me. I get excited every time I like get to film a YouTube video. I have been dabbling in short form, and short form feels like an active expression, like a mind dump, me just having an idea and needing to talk about it, or me being stupid and silly. Long form feels like we're about to be best friends, you know, like you're gonna get to know my ass. I need to stay focused because otherwise I'll get frustrated. Long form also feels like I need to force myself to be more intentional with my storytelling, and it also feels like it's more of the root of my art. Like, what is the fire or fuel or inspiration, or like what's going on deep down that's like causing these outcomes. And I do consider myself to be an artist, and I am just dabbling and experimenting at this phase of my life. So yeah, I wanted to formally introduce myself. My name is Raya, and I just feel awkward now saying it like that, but essentially I'm making this YouTube, and like I've actually been experimenting with all the socials, and so far I really like YouTube. I like TikTok for just making the thing and getting it out, and I have some friends. I've made some good friends on TikTok. Instagram is fucking scary to me. I need to not swear. Like last time I filmed a video I like cursed a lot, and I was like, why am I cursing? I need to like have better language. I also want to not say like all the time, so if I say like all the time, you should bully me. I think it'll help me learn how to like get to the point and learn how to be a better communicator and a more effective communicator. Instagram is scary. TikTok is like too immediate. Like I feel like it has such a short lifespan. Like even on YouTube when you post shorts, I feel like the piece or the video, like the lifespan of how it gets pushed lasts a little longer than TikTok. TikTok, it's like you have those 2 hours. If it doesn't hit, you're done. Never see it again. I mean, maybe that's not accurate, but that's just been my experience. And I like that there's like a little bit more longevity on YouTube, and I really like the longevity of long form. And I really like that, like at the end of the day, you see my page, and unless you really fuck with me, you're probably not gonna watch this video. And anyone that's watching this video, either the algorithm recommended it to them and they were just bored and they were like, hey, who is this bitch? Or they've seen my short form and they fucked with me enough to come watch the video. And that is like a very different thing than TikTok or like just the short form. Duh, me stating the obvious. But yeah, I intend to use this account to document my creative process, so I feel like I needed to give some context for like where I'm at in life, how I got to this point in my life, where I want to go, like what the vision is for the future, all those things. So I'm 24, I'm about to graduate UCLA in June. It took me 6 years to graduate college, and that's because I was in and out of school, working, traveling, going back to school, changing my major. Like I really just had a hard time with upper education, and I've gotten a lot of shit from the internet about that, about like that being like a privilege, and I think that definitely is a privilege. Like I have had the freedom to figure things out, and the freedom to fail, and like the freedom to go back to school, and I allowed myself after high school to not go straight into college, which let me kind of start working, start saving money, and establish a little bit of a financial foundation for myself so that I was able to go back to school with like less active stress on the day-to-day. Like at least I had some money to deal with. But basically I graduated at 18, and I was supposed to go to my state school. I was supposed to enroll. I was actually enrolled at UF. On May 1st I enrolled at UF, and I was like, fuck, I don't want to go here. So then right before I was supposed to go to orientation, I dropped out and I said I'm gonna take a gap year. And then I traveled and I spent a year living internationally and working, and I'm really grateful that I have family overseas, so I was able to stay with my family, hop around, move from place to place, and like get just random jobs. Like I bartended, I worked as a beach server, I worked on a horse farm for a phase, I worked for a marine biology research center, I worked on a sea turtle conservation project. What else did I do? Oh, in Amsterdam, I worked at like a little cafecita, like a cafe, as a barista host thing. I worked at an Asian fusion restaurant. Yeah, so I worked random jobs and traveled, and that was definitely just like an aimless wandering season of my life. And then the goal for me, I always wanted to move to California. Maybe LA. I always wanted to move to California, and when I was young, I wanted to move to California because I was like, fuck dude, I want to surf every day. And that's not a reason to pick a college. Like absolutely not. Do not pick a college because of surfing. Like honestly, I moved to California and I barely surfed again. But that was my mindset at 18. I was like, I want to be in California. All the cool people are in California. California looks beautiful. I was in my hippie era. Definitely a beach girl. I'm from Florida, and my family's from the Caribbean. So, like, I'm in Florida right now. I'm built for hot and humid and ocean. That is my scene. So I was like, I'm gonna go to California. And at the time, I was from Florida, right? So I was like, I can't go to college out of state for what that cost, especially in the state of California. It was super expensive. And I had gotten into several California schools, and some I had scholarships to, and some I was like, just gonna have to figure it out. So I ended up going to UCLA. And from the start, my family was like, you can't afford it, we can't afford it, you're not gonna get enough scholarships or funding or whatever to afford this. So I went to UCLA. I took out a shit ton of loans to get there, moved my ass over, drove my car. Actually, I drove my car later. My 1994 Toyota Corolla. I want to show you guys my car because it's falling apart and it's super funny. But it's in LA right now. So anyways, I drove over there, moved my life over there, and then COVID hit. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to pay for online school. And I don't know what I'm doing in school. I don't even know if I like the vibes at school. I was enjoying being in Los Angeles, but I was like still really uncertain about like what I was doing, why I was there, what I wanted to study, like what I wanted my career to be. And so then I just worked through COVID. I worked at Target, I worked at Ralph's, I worked as a nanny. What else did I do? I worked at a doctor's office. I worked at a naturopathic doctor. And then I essentially fell in love. I had a little boy. Not a little boy, it was a man. And I just had a COVID California love affair. And all of my friends that I had met at school, they left, right? So they were out. And I was just in LA by myself. I had just moved there, and I was just living and working all the time. Like, there was a phase where I was working Target and Ralph's at the same time. Like, I would open at Target and close at Ralph's. So, like, just super long. And why? Because I was, like, stressed out because I had taken out all this debt to move to California. But at the time, I was motivated. I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. I want to be here. I'm happy to be here. It's worth it. Then essentially I went through the whole process to establish financial residency, which is a bitch, let me tell you. Like, there are so many different forms of paperwork and shit that I need to not say shit. But there's just different forms of stuff, and it's a process. So I got denied, and then finally I got accepted. So then I was like, okay, wait, I can go back to UCLA. So now at this point I've had 2 gap years, right? I had a gap year where I was traveling and working all the time, and then I had a gap year where I was like, oh, during that the COVID gap year, I also got a different job in San Diego, and then they transferred me to Texas, and that job, I would say, is the one that, like, really allowed me to kind of, like, gain a financial footing. So then I went back to UCLA. I struggled. I still didn't know what I wanted to study. I still didn't know what I wanted to do, and then I essentially just kept pushing through. I kept taking classes. At this point, I sort of had a negative attitude about education, and I was like, why? Because I just, like, felt lost there, and I felt like I wasn't getting value out of it. And now on the back end, like, you get value out of things when you put value into them, if that makes sense. Like, you have to assert yourself and apply yourself, and through that you get value. Eventually I found this program where you can create your own major through the honors department, and I am a creative person. I am an artist, I'm a writer, I'm a painter, I am exploring creative business, I'm exploring the internet. Like, I enjoy creating things, I enjoy making things, and I could not find a system at UCLA that, like, was nourishing my creative desire and, like, the creative skills I wanted to build, or even getting me any actionable technical skills that I wanted to come out of with college. And then I also wasn't finding anything specific enough that was giving me direction. So I felt so aimless, and, like, I lacked direction, and, like, I, like, just really didn't know what I was doing. But I wanted to be creative. I wanted to take art classes. I wanted to study design. I wanted to, like, blend, because I came from a STEM background. I came, like, from a psycho-bio background. So then I started my first half of my education doing, like, physics, chem, bio, stats, calc, psychology, like, neuroscience, all of those things. And then I sort of blended that with, like, some classes that gave me the creative skills that I was looking to build. Anyways, so after I made my own major, I, like, became super into school because I was like, wow, this is awesome. I am getting exactly what I'm learning, like, wanted out of it. I was making new connections with professors. I was, like, feeling like I was finally, after 5-6 years of struggling in the academic system, I felt like I was sort of figuring out, like, okay, this is why this is a valuable experience. Like, this is amazing. And then now it's over. But it was super cool. Like, the Create Your Own Major program, I, like, got to design my curriculum. I worked with faculty advisors. I had to submit it to the dean. It got approved by the dean. I went through the whole classes. I went through, you know, all of the logistic things with administration, and then at the end I wrote my thesis, and now I am sort of in the editing process for my thesis, and then in June I graduate. So in the meantime, I have had all these other little creative projects and businesses I've started. Sometimes I talk too fast and like my brain gets ahead of myself. I wanted to start talking about the postcard project, but like let me forefront with, like, I'm somebody that has different creative projects, and some of them are like with the intent to bring them to market, and some of them are with the intent to be secretly for myself forever, and others of them are the intent to like be some type of business model, some type of startup, and others of them are supposed to be a painting on my mother's wall. I just experiment with different types of projects and different work types. I like working with my hands. I like working on the computer. I like working on a boat the next day, and then I like working with like a brand strategy, whatever, tech company the next. So I have always been like that, like very experimental, very hopping around from different jobs. And I think for a long time I thought that was a weakness, because it's like, okay, if you can't commit to one thing for a long time, you can't do anything well ever, because you're just doing too many things. And I still struggle with that to this day, and I think there is a balance that I am trying to find with myself of like, you know, it's okay to be experimental, but also you do have to commit to things long term and really try and like really apply yourself. And that's where you like really form a relationship with something so that you can like extract value from it. Anyways, I've always had like these little business ideas or projects that I do, and in the last couple months I started my postcard project. It's called You Have Friends, and it's basically like we're trying to bring back handwritten mail. And that is not like, I'm not like, oh my god, postcards, I'm gonna make so much money off of postcards. That is a passion project. I love sending postcards. Ugh. I love sending postcards. My whole family's always sent postcards. There's such an art and beautiful intimacy to handwritten mail, so I was like, okay, I want to create the postcard project. And that has been like such a great learning process in terms of like me starting to understand what needs to be put into a creative business, the effort that it takes, like all of the entrepreneurship lessons that I think come with starting anything. I've been able to like really solidify and learn through that project. And in the process of that project, I had to learn social media marketing and like putting it on socials, and I was off socials completely. So I had a really hard time like trying to navigate social media because it just wasn't my thing. I didn't fuck with it. I like had digital identity anxiety. I like had a fear of being perceived. And now I'm like, okay, well, if I want to put my art out there, if I want to start creative businesses, if I want to share anything that I do to any degree, like I'm going to have to learn how to use the tool that is the internet. So that brought me on to like this next evolution of where I'm at now, right? Like I'm about to graduate. I've been posting a shit ton and like feeling embarrassed about it half the time, and then feeling confident about it the other half of the time, and just like, I know like that is gonna fluctuate back and forth between those two things. Like I've committed to like trying for the next couple months, so we'll just see. I'm running my postcard project. We had a whole model where actually I signed an NDA, so maybe I can't talk about that yet. I'll tell you guys about that later. But yeah, the last year, I just made a TikTok about this actually. The last year the way I made money was I had grant money to pursue my degree and write my research. Then I worked on boats as a deckhand for yacht charters. Super cool job. If you are young and you live in a coastal city, like I wish I found that sooner. And I made pretty decent money doing that. I worked in like freelance product strategy and like as a product assistant for entrepreneurs. So basically entrepreneurs would hire me and I would just do all sorts of different things, which for me was also very, very useful because I like working for entrepreneurs, because I like learning about entrepreneurship. I like learning what I need to do to be successful as an entrepreneur. So that was an awesome experience. And then I'm trying to think, what else did I? Yeah, that was my main streams of income. Oh, I ran an investment project. This investment project put me in a position now where I'm like able to have enough space where I don't have to rush into my next step. However, I was getting serious because sometimes I am delusional. I am in a phase of like, I don't want to drain my savings. I'm graduating college, I need to get a job, but I also need to have enough flexibility for me to pursue my creative interests and like bring the projects out to market that fulfill me and that I feel like I can really provide value with. And that's just like part of making stuff. Like I need to write every day, I need to make art, I need to like bring stuff to market, but I also need to like build skills and build community and be of value in a way that generates income. So yeah, this next phase of my life is me pursuing my creative projects while figuring out how do I balance that with either freelance work or, you know, a normal job that can basically allow me to achieve all of my goals, whether it's creative, financial, lifestyle, travel, relationships. Like I just have a very clear vision of where I want to go, so I am doing the things needed to get there. And right now I'm in a phase where I'm so obsessed. Like I really have been enjoying my little internet moment. Like I've been posting so much, and I think I need to like set boundaries with that because sometimes it can get out of hand. But I really am having a lot of fun with it, so thank you for being here. I'll be documenting my creative process. I'll be like storytelling and stuff, and like probably exposing myself a little bit too much. I'm on my mom's porch. But yeah, either way it's a learning process for me, so